I want to talk today about food freedom. What is it? How do you get it? And it all comes from various conversations when I talk to ladies about their relationship with food and my relationship with food. It's fascinating. It is fascinating. So my relationship with food has always been a difficult one. I remember being in a very emotional teenager. Everything was very traumatic, and I didn't always have good relationships. And I used to use food for comfort, 100%. As I got to be a teenager, enjoying life, going out, I always felt I was overweight. It ruined nights out. Men were always picking on me, highlighting the fact that I wasn't enough. Fast forward, I found out that that's just what boys do. But I used to take everything so personally. I remember going home from a nightclub crying because somebody said that was rude to me about my weight. And so I've never been a thin girl. Well, I've been thin a couple of times, but slim, no, never thin. So I've lost the weight. In fact, I have also been a Slimming World consultant back in the day. And I remember somebody saying to me then, "Oh, well, you wouldn't understand because you don't have a weight problem." I had lost the weight and I got down to like a size 8 to 10. And she perceived me as somebody that had no idea what a bad relationship with food was. And I look back and it just makes me laugh. Everybody who's slim, you have no idea what struggles they're going through. Anyway, most of my life I haven't been slim. I've managed it, as I say, a couple of times, but majority of the time I fight every single day. And so conversations with thin people, conversations with people who are what I would deem as a healthy weight, but also have bad relationships with food. Now, so that all stems down to food addiction. And therefore, the opposite side of that is food freedom. So, how do you move away from food addiction? And what I mean by that is not necessarily eating, but you're always thinking about what can I eat? I remember thinking about times when I'd meet a friend for coffee, hoping they wouldn't want to have something to eat, like a cake with it, because, I can't, or then I'm going to feel guilty, or that it's going to make me feel bad because I can't have one, or, and then I'm going to feel like I'm being deprived, and all of these thoughts going around my head, trying to negotiate life. Not wanting people to think that I'm the person that would want a cake with my coffee. Oh, and not wanting to eat too much in front of other people. And I have a very funny story, and I think she'll forgive me and I won't mention any names. But we were walking through town once, my friend and I, and she's a big girl, but she's big everywhere, big boobs, goes in the middle, and then she's got the big hips, big bum. Very voluptuous, what I would call an hourglass figure, but on the big side. And she won't mind me saying that. She's lost weight since then. Anyway, we were walking through town, and she did something I would never be seen doing, and that was eating some chips as we're walking through. Just eating chips. This guy shouted, "Oi, love, do you think you should be eating those?" Oh my God. I was mortified for me, and I was mortified for her. Do you know what she said? And it just blew my mind at the time. And everything that's ever happened to me prior to that just fell away. She said he had to get my attention somehow because he probably fancies me. I have had men be rude to me all of my life. As a teenager, as a young girl, as a 30 something, where men have commented about my weight. I've worked in male environments where they've said, "Oh, do you think you should be eating that?" And I've been mortified. And I've had a comeback, and I've said things like, "Well, you're never going to see me naked, so don't worry about it," But it's just used to get me. Criticism about my weight and feeling self-conscious. Anyway, I let it all go on. That day, it just had never occurred to me. I always struggled with not being perfect enough, with not being slim enough. So then fast forward to my 40s, I was a Slimming World consultant. I managed to stick to their system, and that's what it is. It's a system. Stick to the system. But how can you continue that, through all of your life when you're sticking to somebody else's system? And so you have to find your own system. So fast forward to fasting. And when I first tried it, I thought it was so difficult because I've always eaten little and often. And when you eat little and often, you get, a dip, and then you feel, physically hungry. And I used to get really hangry. And so, you're constantly on that roller coaster. Of course, you can't go without food because I'd feel physically sick and I get dizzy. And so, I need that constant food in. And I know other people in my life who do that and succeed at being slim and doing that. Bravo. I can't do that. And actually, I don't want that constant insulin spike in my body either. So, tried fasting, failed miserably. I tried to do intermittent fasting. I found it very, very difficult because my body was used to little and often. I'd always eaten little and often. So, trying to turn it to do something very different is it's difficult. But I persevered at it, and I tried some longer fasts, which I found easier. Even now, I find it easier to fast for 3 days than doing a week of intermittent fasting, but everybody's different. You've got to find out what works for you. Fasting is not a quick fix. It's not a diet plan. It's not a temporary solution, but it is something that you can use. Now, this is the win for me, and I'm hoping it's the win for other people. Fasting, while it's not necessarily, as I said, been a weight loss success story, although I have lost weight, for me it's about, and this is the massive win for me, and if nothing else, this is has changed my life, and I don't want to underestimate it. It has changed my life. Food freedom. I was somebody that when I watched a television program and they were sitting down for dinner and then whatever had an argument or something happened and the food was left on the table, my only thought was, oh my God, they're not going to eat that food. That food's going to go to waste, And when I look at my daughter, who's naturally slim, we never had lots of junk food, but, she might have a bit of chocolate, and she'd have a small chocolate bar as a child, and she would eat like a third of it and then wrap the rest of it up and put it away. I have never not eaten the whole chocolate bar. So when you watch thin people, how do they do that? I just have never been able to do that. If somebody has bought me a box of chocolates in the past, I've literally made myself sick. It's almost like, and it is like, I want to get rid of it. So how am I going to get rid of it and out of the house? I've got to eat it. So that's the madness that food puts you into if you're not careful. If you are somebody that never has that, there's a cream cake in the fridge and it doesn't call you and it hasn't, it's not, you can't hear it. Wonderful. I have never had that. Every time I have something nice in, it calls my name. It's so loud. And if you can relate to that, this is what fasting has done for me. So fasting has enabled me to cut off my relationship with food. It's almost like a divorce. And you go, okay, I'm not seeing you anymore for a while. And then you learn that you can live without that. It's because you are emotionally attached to that food. If you have an emotional attachment to food, to the extent that I have had, and everybody should enjoy food, everybody should love food, but to the extent where, and I've seen this on Sex and the City where she puts the cake in the bin and tries to ruin it, and then she still goes back and digs a little bit out. Oh my God. So embarrassing. I'm not saying I've done that, but I 100% understand where she's coming from. So to go from that person to now, okay, this is my success story. I haven't eaten chocolate for 15 weeks. I haven't eaten, sugar for 15 weeks. I have tried to cut out sugar previously, and I've done a month here, a month there. Always go back. Sugar is my best friend. Sugar is my lover. Sugar is my cheerleader. It's my hero. It's my big, soft, cuddly, everything. But it was poisoning me to the extent was I would overindulge in sugar literally until I felt sick. So if you've seen my I'm a sugar addict video, please do have a watch. Not doing it for sympathy, but you have to face your dragons, the things that are ruining your life. So cut out sugar. Well done, pat on the back. And then last week my neighbour gave me a bar of chocolate as a thank you for something I did a favour. And even though I told him I don't eat sugar, he still bought me it. He bought dark chocolate, probably thinking there wasn't much sugar in it. And okay, this is a challenge. This is going to be a challenge. So I had a little square. Okay, 15 weeks, no sugar. I had a bit of a square of the chocolate, and it did nothing for me. It did nothing. I'm like, I have been terrified of this stuff. What am I going to do? What if I go to a party? What if I felt nothing? It's like you got divorced, they've moved on, you've moved on. I feel nothing. The next day, I had another little square. Put it in the fridge. Now, someone said to me, oh, you should have put it in the freezer, then you can't. No, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. It doesn't have a hold on me anymore. That is the point. That is the place you need to get to where you can have it around. And I know people that have a cupboard full of chocolate. They can take it or leave it. I wish I could have been that person. That's the person I want to be now. And that's where I've got to. It's okay. I'm going to pat myself on the back, even if no one else does. Because that is food freedom. Where food doesn't have a hold on me anymore. That is huge. Now, most of us use food to hide our emotions. I have replaced that with tapping, journaling, sitting in peace and quiet and reflecting. And the other thing, acknowledging. What am I feeling? Why do I feel I need something? What I really need is a hug. Maybe I need to, ring somebody. So these last few weeks, I have been doing that. I have been tapping into how am I actually feeling? Because I still get a little bit of I fancy something sweet after dinner, and I am still allowing myself to have fruit. So it's not the sugar, it's not the sweet thing that I'm actually looking for, it's something else. And acknowledging that and sitting in that emotion for a while. That's one of my recommendations. And the other thing is, it's not wrong to have a feast day. There will be celebrations, there will be times, and throughout history, people have always had feast days. But after a feast day, you could have a fast day or not. You work it out for yourself. I don't tell people what to do. But don't overcompensate. So if you have a feast day, just accept that you are a human being. You've had a bit of a naughty day, you know. It's not naughty. We're allowed to indulge sometimes. So get rid of the guilt, get rid of the beating ourselves up, feeling guilty, and then overcompensating. I remember doing many diets and I fall off the wagon. Fasting, you can't fall off the wagon. There is no falling off the wagon. It's just today I'm going to do this or today I'm not going to do it. You know, it's that disconnection away from food. So if this helps anybody, what am I going to call it? Food freedom. And celebrate the fact that you are now not addicted to that, whatever food it is for you. I mean, for me, it's sugar, but it might be something different for you. It might be alcohol for you. It might be whatever it is that addiction is. Try and use some of these tools to get rid of that food addiction so that you can really have that food freedom. Hopefully that's helped somebody out there. Let me know how you feel about your addictions to food. How are you getting on? Are you implementing some fasting? Has it helped you? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.